Terry, Obamacare is not very popular, so the government has got to advertise it. How much do you think they're going to spend on advertising this wonderful program?
I bet it's astronomical.
Well, you want to guess? Esther?
I don't know, maybe $20 million, $50 million?
How about 700 million?
Whoa.
Or more. The AP's gone into the files to find out what they're going to spend.
What are they going to do for that kind of
well,
money?
they're going to do everything they can to twist your arm so you'll like what they're selling. You know, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. It's horrible, and people don't like it. Well, Republicans are saying, look, we're upping the ante in our fight against Obamacare, and we're going to cut its funding, if possible, in Congress.
All of that on the face of this massive advertising campaign Pat just mentioned. Well, Ephraim Graham has the story for you.
The price tag for the president's health care overhaul is getting bigger.
The cost of Obamacare is now 3 times what they originally expected it to be, and getting higher every day.
But Republicans are drawing a new line in the sand and threatening to shut down the government. 12 senators and 66 congressmen have signed letters to their leaders declaring they will not support a new government funding bill in September if it includes funds for the health care law. The move comes after the White House has delayed the mandate that requires businesses to provide health care coverage for their employees and launches a new health care advertising campaign. The new ads target a tough audience to reach: the working poor, young people, and those who gave up their insurance because of the cost. The price tag for this push is nearly $700 million.
The law, as it was designed, is impossible to implement, and that's what we're learning as they run into all of these practical problems. And so either this thing is going to be repealed or it's going to be significantly changed and reformed into something that can actually be done.
Obamacare remains unpopular with Americans. In the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, 47% say it's a bad idea. 34% say it's a good one. For now, confusion and uncertainty about the law is stifling economic growth and leaving business owners worried.
So there's a lot of heartburn right now and a lot of nervousness about what exactly the increased cost will mean for their bottom line.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, what we don't know is how much damage that man can do before his term ends. Right now, he's on a speech crusade. It looks like it's a perpetual campaign. He's good at campaigning. His experience is community organizer, so he figures he can go out and pump up the troops. The trouble is, there comes a time that you have to deliver something. You have to have a program that works. And when all the programs you put out don't work, then you go out and lie about them. And people begin to think, Pinocchio, it's not working. And the American people, as, what was it, Lincoln said you can fool them, all the people some of the time, but some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time, and Obama thinks he can. Well, it looks like the government is pushing either further ahead with its massive electronic surveillance. Terry, if you can believe it, they want the passwords now of everybody on their accounts. They want to know the secret passwords.
And don't even think it's bold to ask for it.
Oh, man, it's just horrible. And I understand that the NSA data collection place is, I think, 7 times bigger than the Pentagon. It's enormous. It's absolutely enormous. Big Brother is huge. And this thing has come along, and Congress just barely determined they weren't going to vote against it. So, oh, man, it makes you sick at your stomach. Lee Webb brings us that story from CBN Newsroom. Here's Lee.
Well, Pat, as you mentioned, the government wants major internet companies to turn over your computer password and the passwords of millions of Americans. CNETnews.com reports the move represents a step up in surveillance techniques. If the government has your password, it can be used to log into your account, review your personal information and correspondence, and even impersonate you. Many internet companies have flatly refused, though, the government's demands for passwords and other ways to get into personal accounts. Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul wants churches to challenge the IRS. He says pastors should speak boldly from the pulpit without worrying about the consequences. He gave an exclusive interview to CBN's David Brody.
What I would say to the churches is be bold and challenge them and say, in our church, we're still going to discuss good and evil and what we think of it, and so be it if the government wants to come and challenge us, because if we don't stand up and try to protect our God-given rights, they're going to be taken from us.
Many pastors are reluctant to speak out on political issues because they fear being audited or fined by the IRS. You can always get the latest from David and his political coverage by checking out the Brody File at cbnnews.com. President Obama praises the accomplishments of Muslims in America. He hosted his 5th annual iftar dinner at the White House Thursday. Iftar is an observance of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. The president praised Muslim entrepreneurs, innovators, and pioneers for their contributions to America.
Throughout our history, Islam has contributed to the character of our country, and Muslim Americans and their good works have helped to build our nation. And we've seen the results. We've seen those results in generations of Muslim immigrants, farmers and factory workers, helping to lay the railroads and build our cities, Muslim innovators who helped build some of our highest skyscrapers, and who helped to unlock the secrets of our universe.
President Bill Clinton started the tradition of iftar dinners at the White House. George W. Bush kept it going during his presidency, and so has President Obama. Pat?
You know, Lee, I wish they would tell me which of those innovators that have helped lay the railroads and lay the foundation for America who were Muslim. They certainly aren't recorded in any history books I've seen, so I wonder who he had in mind. But it makes them feel good to say, look, you're pioneers, you're help lay the fabric of this great country. That's hogwash. Lee?
Pat, Uganda is trying to deal with a humanitarian crisis. An estimated 65,000 refugees fled the Democratic Republic of Congo after an al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group attacked a village in the eastern part of the country. They crossed into the remote Ugandan district of Bundibugyo, seeking safety. Many found refuge with relatives in Uganda, but more than 20,000 are in need of food, water, and a place to live. Joshua Dickinson is an American missionary and engineer who's helped provide water to that refugee camp.
To be honest, it has been heartbreaking. It is a struggle to run into this refugee camp, but it is also the reason that I'm here in Bundibugyo, and the reason I feel God's called me to serve is to be available for tragedies like this. When we first got water flowing in the camp, and many women and children were coming to collect water, and the thank yous, and to know that I'm here representing Christ in a way of providing clean water, it was very fulfilling.
Dickinson works with the Pennsylvania-based World Harvest Mission, and you can learn more about this story on my Facebook page, including how Joshua sacrificed more than just his time and talent to help these people. You can go to cbnnews.com to read that. Pat?
Some years ago, there was a humanitarian crisis of massive proportions during that Rwandan civil war, and when the Tutsis and the Hutus were fighting each other. And there were about 1 million refugees that fled into Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we had medical teams over there at the time from CBN and Operation Blessing that were working. And it was ghastly. It was people dying on either side. It was like living in purgatory. It's horrible. And we did what we could. We were responsible, as I recall, for something in the neighborhood of, what was it, 200,000 refugees or so in the little part we were dealing with. But medicine, they had what they called diarrhea rouge, the bloody flux, and it was just uncontrollable diarrhea, and these people were wasting away. They didn't have enough water. It was terrible. But to be able to help in any way was nice, but it makes my heart sick to see once again some group of rebels starting a war that led, in this case, to thousands, 20,000 or so refugees coming across the border, in this case into Uganda. The last time they were leaving Rwanda and coming into the Congo around Goma and that area in the Kivu province. But boy, as I say, it breaks your heart, the bloodshed and the slaughter that goes on. Lee?
Saturday marks the 60th anniversary of the ceasefire that ended the fighting in the Korean War. Technically, the war isn't over. The two sides only signed a truce and have yet to negotiate a peace treaty. North Korea is marking the 60-year milestone with a massive celebration tomorrow, calling it Victory Day. Here in the U.S. Korea Institute held a congressional event to honor Korean War veterans. Former Senator John Warner served in the U.S. Marine Corps during the conflict. He remembers how the U.S. was quickly downsizing the military after World War II when this new war erupted.
And we had no thought that the United States would be called upon so quickly to respond to a noble cause, and that was to preserve freedom for South Korea. We learned a lesson as a nation, never again to allow our defenses to slip below that level of the commitments we have, not only to ourselves to protect freedom, but indeed those other allies and other freedom-seeking peoples of the world.
Senator Warner was also the Navy Secretary at one point, and he also served in World War II in the United States Navy. Today, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea remains the world's most fortified border. And Pat, we salute you as well for your service as a Marine Corps officer in Korea.
I was with the headquarters of the 1st Marine Division north of the 38th parallel, and my friend John Warner, who'd been with me in college, he's with the Air Wing down in the south, and he came up. He wanted to see what it was like up in the front lines. So he came up, and then he went beyond the division headquarters and was taking pictures of the dead combatants lying on the wire in front of our positions. But we had a nice time together. He was a dear friend, still is, and he and I hate to say we enjoyed Korea, but we know what was happening. A great tragedy. It was a tragedy of massive proportions. I was there when Douglas MacArthur, I was in Japan when Douglas MacArthur was the Supreme Commander. He had the right idea, and the people in Washington wouldn't accept it. And I thought we'd learned our lesson in Korea. It turned out we hadn't. We went to Vietnam once again. MacArthur said, in war, there's no substitute for victory. We made sure that we lost both of those wars. And here the North Koreans are crowing about the fact it's their victory. Well, it wasn't, but at the same time, we should have wiped them off the face of the earth and established democracy in that area. Terry?
Still a lot of grief over relatives split up in that country.
It would have been so easy to have moved forward to the so-called Yalu up to the border of China and pacified that whole country instead of turning it over to the communist Kim Jong-il and then his son and now grandson.
Understand why you enjoyed Korea, though. South Korea is a beautiful place, great people.
You weren't there when I was there.
Well, I'm sure not when you were there, yeah.
A beautiful. My wife was over there. I said, are you kidding? I mean, I remember honey buckets going around, dirt roads, dust and dirt.
Yeah.
She said, what are you talking about? It's beautiful and
It
so
is beautiful today.
you know, high-rise buildings. I said, no way. That's not the Korea I knew. All right.
Egyptian authorities have ordered that former President Mohamed Morsi continue to be detained until further notice. Morsi is accused of conspiring with the Palestinian group Hamas to carry out a massive jailbreak of dozens of Muslim Brotherhood leaders in 2011, Morsi being one of them. That happened during the popular uprising that toppled President Hosni Mubarak. Morsi has already been held for 15 days while he's being investigated. A new chapel has been added to the children's home in Haiti, supported by Operation Blessing. OB President Bill Horan was on site for the recent dedication. It's called Chapel St. Rose of Lima, part of the Zanmi Beni Children's Home in Haiti. The chapel has 8 windows featuring original artwork. Operation Blessing teams provided the labor and construction management to build that chapel. The children's home includes a 30-room dormitory, dining hall and bakery, arts and music center, library, as well as an outdoor play area. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to its website at ob.org.